All right, everybody, it's now 8:30. I'd like to welcome you to the 4th of July meeting of Te Puna Kōrero. I'll invite myself actually to open with a karakia. I'll start. You're ready, steady, go. Whakataka te hao ki kia mā kinakina ki kia mā taratara he aki aka kura, he huka, he auhu, tihe, Māori ora.
Somebody bless America.
Yes, they certainly need it. Well, moving right along to the subject of the minute, let's now move to apologies. For lateness, we have Takuparai and Mose Nalo. Yep, I'll move those. Thank you very much. All those in favour? And we note the absence of Tracy Johnson and Mike Duncan. Let's move to public forum. There is no public forum today, as I understand. And so that brings us to conflict of interest declarations. Are there any conflict of interest declarations? There being none, let's move along to extraordinary business, of which there is none either. So that brings us to the confirmation of the minutes of Te Puna Kōrero of the 20th of June. I'm going to move those to get them onto the table. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hayward. So I move those as a true and correct record. Are there any corrections? No. There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Right, that brings us to our reports when I get to it. So that's item 7.1, which is the new street names for the Eastern Porirua development. I'll move the report to get it onto the table. Seconded by Councillor Hayward again. Yep. All right. So we are being asked to approve the proposed 3 new street names, and also note that, should we get into the discussion, there is going to be a new naming policy coming to us in the future. So that will be a discussion for the future. So do officers want to talk to this? Do we need to? Councillors, I'll ask for questions then. Right, so Councillor Weehapi first and then Councillor Hayward.
Thank you. I just want to ask and double check that the macrons will indeed be put on those Māori names on the street signs as they are written in the report.
Good question.
Yes.
Good answer. Yep.
Fabulous, thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Hayward.
Ata Māori mātua upoko mihi kai kanuhita katoa. He patai. Points 5 through 7, this is on page 12 of the notes, regarding the new policy. So point 6 in particular talks about a new naming policy is currently in development. I had to go back through and check when we talked about this last time. It was April 2022. Can officers give some commentary as to why in that report, and I'll try and quote the relevant section here, the proposed new policy will go to Council for consideration in May 2022. Can someone explain to me why we are still waiting in 2024?
COVID.
It was considered around the ELT table, and it was missing some important aspects. So we have gone back to the table, and frankly, we've just had staffing issues. And yes, it's been a long time, but I'm assured that it is almost here.
Sup?
Certainly.
Thank you. In preparing for this agenda item, I tried to locate the relevant policy that was passed by Council back in 2006, amended 2018, and then the decision that was in 2022 was to grant abilities to the Chief Executive to approve names that weren't in the existing policy. Went to the website to try and find the policy, couldn't find it by the council. Is there a reason why it's not available to be found on the website?
It should be on there. It's still a current policy. I don't know why it's not on there, but I will check and get back to you.
Any other?
Just, perhaps I was going to suggest that I may have my comment now, and rather than wait till after questions to do comment, but it's at your leave.
Your comment
With regards to the item and my conditional support for the item.
Absolutely, go for it now while you're on fire.
Thank you. I guess in the week after the last local government election, I used the time I had in the first meeting with Mayor Baker to talk about the things that I'd like our council to focus on over the next 3 years. And knowing that I had been quite vociferous in my views around wanting to have a policy review that had been at that point 16 years past its last review date to be pushed forward. And obviously, looking through that policy, as I did again in the preparation for this meeting, note that the categories that are used for the city, for the roads as it currently stands, are naff. They're just naff. So I am highlighting my frustration that this is still going on and that people can't find the policy online. And it tends to make me think that if I were a reasonable person, it might be that the council doesn't want the public to actually participate in trying to change names or have some feedback into what kind of names we use to honour the streets in our city. So I don't know what else to do other than to conditionally support this item, but highlight that it may be left to the community itself to actually give feedback. Now, there's already on the website a nice little doc that you can fill in and put it on that point for officers to look into. If you're wondering what my personal views are around what kind of naming policy changes, perhaps we would reflect on the fact that there are more politicians who have streets named after them than All Blacks. There are more people who are governors general who have street names named after them than there are war veterans necessarily in our local community. And I'm not, and it's not to say nothing of the fact that we also have a particular issue with regards to parity, with regards to the public will know
just
better.
remind you that we're not talking about the policy.
I am preempting any conversation, Mr. Chair, by trying to give you, and hopefully officers will consider that when they come with a proposal about what they want to do as part of review, as opposed to waiting even longer before we start that process.
Are working on the policy. We've had a really hard time working on our long-term plan. It is coming in the next few months, so just hold tight.
Dog ate my homework.
Any other comments? I'd also comment that history might be naff from your point of view, but it's also history. It's the way.
Wonderful names. They'll fit the community perfectly, and it'll be fantastic to review the amended policy in August, September. I'm looking forward to that.
In due course. Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment on the names? No? I think everyone's in agreement. Yeah. We've noted that when it comes. That moves us to item 7.2, which is the transport bylaw. I'm going to move this to get it onto the table. Do I have a seconder? Mayor Baker. Now, who wants to come and present this one? Kaylee. Okay, very good. I note that there's a lot of information in here, but the diagrams and photographs do make some significant sense of it all. Okay.
Kia ora, through the chair. So I have a couple of points. I'll take it as read, but number 9, so the Papakowhai Road Shared Project has been through the KEAT process. It's been consulted on. So the loss of parks has been consulted on and also surveyed. Number
9.
Yes.
Isn't that Stein Ave?
Oh.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
looking
sorry,
at
point 9,
Yep, got
paragraph
it.
9, yep. Okay. Paragraph 16, there's a mistake in the writing of it. It says Ely Road would require more consultation. So this should read Ely Road would require further consultation. For paragraph 10, the Moana Road North speed coming, and onwards, we have 78 to 84% support for all 3 proposals on Moana Road. And paragraph 27, the wording of the signage, which is no turning facility beyond this point, will be changed to be more accurate. So it won't be that wording because that wording is not accurate.
Good. Right. Now I'd like to open it up for questions from councillors. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Hayward.
Thank you, officers, for the preparation of the report. I'm hoping that you'll be able to expand on the commentary with regards to point 25, the concern of taking parking away would negatively affect residents. I'm guessing, can officers provide any commentary that it's received in its feedback with the community around proposed solutions and what its current view is as it understands it to be from residents thus far? I'm trying to get a sense of whether the community has been made aware of what these proposed changes would mean for them, so that we've got a feedback loop in place at the very least.
Yes, so residents were consulted on for this, for the turnaround area where parking will be removed on street. We note, so there was a parking survey done, and there were there weren't a significant amount of parks taken away from this area. People parking there, there was probably around 2 or 3 cars parking there at a time. They weren't, and then, I'm not sure if they were residents. I think some of them were people parking for the view, and there was maybe 1 vehicle parking there for as a resident. There's also parking on the residential side of the road, which is not being taken away. So we believe that there will be sufficient parking still available in that area.
So just so I'm clear here then, officers have, in addition to scoping the actual site itself, have they, made sure to engage with stakeholders? I'm thinking of the people at Hornweka, I'm thinking of the Plymouton Residents Association, to ensure that they have, as a means, a vessel for the public to feedback, that they may have some source of intelligence in terms of their views on this. Have they been talked to, and what was their feedback?
Yes, we consulted the Residents Association.
With regards to the proposed solutions, not just about the current issue, but rather the solution. I'm just trying to be certain here that we don't come back and the people go, well, we didn't hear about it, we didn't, you guys didn't talk to us kind of attitude. I want to be certain in my head before I make a call on the decision here.
So they were informed of 3 proposals, which was the speed limit being extended down Moana Road a little bit, the 30-kilometre-hour speed limit extended past the and they were also consulted. They were also given the proposal of the broken yellow lines being put in for 30 metres on the seaside, where we propose to put the turning facility in, and we also mentioned that there will be signs put in there. So they were, everybody, cars on the street, residents were sent that letter. It was sent to the Residents Association. It was sent to the Hongueka Marae community. Updated them with our solution yet.
That answers my question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And the roading team in regards to that, so they were well aware of that. But also the map on page 30, with that parking on the left side, I remember I was quite keen to there on that tight corner on Paremata Crescent where people park and then obviously walk over the...
It is.
It is, isn't it? Oh, great. So
Can I just invite Christian Jensen to respond to that from a project perspective?
Identified that parking needed to be removed. We then went out to public consultation at the Police College and Papakowhai School for public open evenings, and also to the residents' associations. But we did do a survey there to find out what type of vehicle it is, and it confirmed our suspicions that they are all, or 99% of them are rail commuter users. Because the parking is effectively only being moved back, so if you take that lump of car by foot, isn't substantial enough to need to do like a letter drop to them specifically for this. But we are going to do one before we put in the yellow marking saying this is happening, just so you know.
All right, thank you. Councillor Trellin and then Councillor Philo.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Really glad to see this, in particular the traffic calming measures along Moana Road will be supporting, and just wanted to assure Councillor Hayward as well from the questions before. I met with the Plymouton Residents Association on Monday evening, alerted them to the fact this was coming up this week. They let me know if they had any concerns they'd come back to Pāwhatahanui councillors by Wednesday evening, and we haven't heard back. So I'm taking that as that they're comfortable with what's been proposed. So yeah, really happy with this, and I'll be supporting it. Very much needed on Moana Road especially.
Can we, just on that, before Councillor Philo, can we just confirm that on Moana Road, this is not necessarily all the measures that are going to take place in the future, because there are still other issues that are hot potatoes there, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Right, Councillor Philo, sorry.
I'll also be supporting this, particularly the Moana Road project, and I just wanted to get a little bit of clarity. So, and this is just further to what Councillor Hayward said regarding the community being updated on like where we've landed. So it didn't seem to me when looking through this that much had changed from what was actually proposed. Just wanted you to kind of clarify that. What I mean is, it won't be a surprise to them once the work is completed.
Yeah, that's correct. We haven't changed anything apart from the wording and the turnaround signage from the proposal.
Okay, that's great. So, yeah, just finishing on a comment then, just thanking the officers for quite extensive engagement, and, you know, it's quite a detailed report, and, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from councillors? I mean, I too think this is a good outcome, and particularly pleased to see stuff along Papakowhai Road. I now understand because the shared path will be at the railway station overbridge there, well, that's where it will finish, and it has to be widened, that we need to take space from the other side of the road where cars are currently parking, but their occupants are going to the station and going into town or other places. So I think that's a fair result and a good result, and along with the other ones. Can I just confirm that Stein Ave, along there, there's nothing actually changing there. We're just confirming what's already in place?
That's correct.
Very good. Very good. All right. Are there any other questions, councillors? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you, officers. Who's that? Oh, hold on. Who is it? Oh, right. Right, let's now move to item 7.3. That's the request to consult with the Canners Creek Park reserves easement and the temporary closure. I'll note that we have the consultant Anna McElroy here on Zoom if there are any specific questions. But in the meantime, I'll put the motion. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Ford. Thank you very much. Right. Now, do we want to explain this a little bit? I mean, I think it's self-explanatory but quite complicated, and maybe necessarily we don't need to understand all the detail, but we know what outcome we're looking for.
Thank you, through the chair. Trouble with the microphone there. Kia ora koutou, everyone. I'm Dylan Cliff, Parks Planner. This project has been on the radar for a very long time. I think in the first draft for Eastern Porirua and part of the spatial planning, it was identified that the northern portion of Cannons Creek Park, there was a potential location for a wetland to help offset all of the stormwater changes for intensification. That has gone through an extensive process and gotten to the point we are at today around having a wetland in the north part of the park and then upgrades through the whole of the park. In terms of the specifics for this paper, though, there are two elements that we need to go out to consult on. So one is the easement. So obviously the wetland itself is not consistent with a recreation reserve, and so the easements for the wetland itself and for the pipe upgrades, we wouldn't specifically need to do it for all the pipe upgrades because they're underground, but because the wetland is an above ground feature, it is considered a material change. And the second one is for parks closures. So it's a little bit like with Bothamley Park, where the Bothamley Park, there was an easement process and a closure process, and those were all bundled up together, and it's the same situation here. But I'm happy to take any questions around the design portion of it, because I know that it hasn't come to council yet in terms of the specifics of the design, if there's any questions around that.
Thanks, Dylan. Are there any questions, councillors? No questions. I think everyone's waiting with bated breath for the thing to get going, and let's hope it does, given recent changes in government, etc., in terms of ongoing funding. Maybe that's a bit of a political comment, but never mind. Councillor Ford, did you have a question?
It's not about the design, really. I mean, I'm in support of the recommended option, because I think it's good to go out to our community. I know you guys have engaged with our community every step of the way in terms of the design, which is good, and you've had some extensive consultation around that place. I had a question around, I think somewhere in there you've got redundant pipes will be left for some of them. Who determines whether those ones are left and some of them are going to be removed? So how is that determined?
Yes, through the chair. So just from my experience, generally what happens is it's determined whether it's practicable or not to remove it. And sometimes if it's like an asbestos concrete pipe, which a lot of these older pipes are, it's best that they just get left in the ground. Okay. So it's dependent on the where they are and whether it's easy to take them out and what they're made from, and whether the best option is to just leave them in the ground if there's a contamination issue.
All good. And then I think once this is done, which we can't wait for that to happen, or when it goes through, I'm just hoping that any water impacts that might take place, that the affected communities are notified, or because we always have that issue where our pipes aren't working or water isn't working, but we didn't really get notified. Not everyone gets notified, so that would be good when that happens, when we get to that point.
Okay, yep, thank you. Councillor Philo, you have a question.
I'll also be supporting the recommended options, and I just had one question, which was on page 45, was point 16. So there's 2 points. It's the fourth one and the fifth one. And it talks about the bypass pipe to enable high flows to bypass the wetland. And then the point underneath is an outlet pool at the end of the bypass pipe to provide energy dispersation and an area for fish refuge. So is that where the bypassing of the wetland, is it going into this outlet pool? Just wanted a bit of clarity around where the bypass is going.
Yeah, so through the chair, the bypass, so what happens is the pipes that go into the wetland are of a particular size, and when there's a really big storm, I'm not sure if anyone's been to Cannons Creek Park, but there's a huge scruffy dome. Yeah, and and the pipe that comes in from Esk is about 1.5 metres. So when that's at full capacity, it means that there's a lot of water that couldn't be attenuated by the wetland. So that's why the bypass is there, so that in very extreme events, so a 1 in 10 year to a 1 in 100 year storm, that water still has somewhere to go, and it doesn't, completely scour out the wetland. And then obviously and I think the pipe is about 2 metres wide, so it's a huge pipe as a bypass pipe to bypass the wetland. And then obviously that is a lot of water, so it needs to be, you can't just push that straight into Cannons Creek as it is now, because that would have issues. So that's why there needs to be a pool constructed for it. And then there's sort of a dual use there where if you're going to bust out the concrete, you might as well sort of soften that edge as much as possible and integrate the two. Hopefully that answers your question.
So the outlet pool will be sort of beside the wetland, is that what?
Yeah.
Further away?
No, yeah, so it will be, quite proximate. I think I'm not sure if I can point it out on the plans. You are right next to me. So it will be within the stream, so that little portion there.
Say again?
So the outlet pool will be into the stream, Cannons Creek, and it will be at the sort of southern edge of the wetland.
Oh, okay. Cool, thank you.
Okay. I'm sure that's planned well. Anyway, I mean, if there's a huge event like that, what can you do? Get a walk, yeah. Any other questions, councillors? No, we're looking forward to it going ahead, as I've said, and there's a lot of planning gone into this, and it's good that there'll be some consultation now as well. So for the final details. So with that, I'll now move the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Very good. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to the end of the meeting. I'm going to move a motion that we go into public excluded to confirm previous meetings' minutes. I'll ask for a seconder. Councillor Weehappy. All those in favour?